Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the speaker of the evening, who is my classmate and my friend. When I was asked to do this, I assumed that it might take a brief moment. Then I got his resume and his bio, and suddenly I figured I might be up here for at least 30 minutes. However, I'm going to spare you that. I'll only summarize some of his accomplishments, and then I'll yield the remainder of that time to our speaker. First of all, he was valedictorian of the class of '66, which in itself was not a small accomplishment, since the class of '66 had at least 25% of the students who were on a roll. And so it was competitive, so quite an accomplishment. After graduating as valedictorian, he went on to go to undergraduate school at Howard University as a National Achievement Scholar. He graduated with honors at Howard and moved on to Harvard Law School, where he graduated in 1973. After graduation, he returned to the Washington, D.C. area to do various legal things that lawyers do. He was the legal counsel to the United States Congress on issues involving the District of Columbia for a period of time. And then as an equal employment opportunity, he became a legal counsel to the District of Columbia in all matters involving the U.S. Congress. He has also been a legal counsel for a power industry in the Washington, D.C. area. And he has also done private practice, which is what he's involved with now, and has an office in Puerto Rico and San Juan. So it is my pleasure to introduce my friend, the valedictorian of the class of 1966, Mr. James Bernard Christian.
Mayor Robinson, head table platform guests, class of 1966, my brothers and sisters, it is humbling for me to stand before you tonight, humbling in so many different ways. First, to have an opportunity to come back home. You don't know what it means to have a home to come to. I shall never forget, Bunkie is my home. And it is certainly an honor and humbling for me to have one of my classmates, Charles, who humbly would not toot his own horn, but he was in that 25% that made that competition so difficult. No question about it. And I want to thank Charles for that really heartfelt introduction. It was also indicative of the fact that in the class of '66, though 25% within that competitive range, we never begrudged anybody their achievement. We were not jealous of one another. We did not root against each other. We really rooted for one another as we move forward to do the things that were required of us to develop our God-given talents. I am also grateful and humbled by the fact that I have an opportunity to appear before you tonight with the presence of my only living aunt, one of 12 children, and my youngest uncle, my oldest living aunt, Miss Lavinia Williams, and my youngest of the children, brother, Kelsall Williams and his wife, and my oldest living first cousin, also a graduate of Carver High School, Savannah Milton. In addition to that, I also have my number one Uno brother, Ed Jr., the one who everybody chased after they passed over me. It is no small feat to stand here before that great support company. And I'm heartened by it because if you don't like what I say, at least I have family to take me home. So I want to share with you a list of reflections as well as some heartfelt thoughts that I have wrestled with and have labored to shape into what I hope will be some takeaway items that we both will leave here emblazoned on our hearts to do even greater things. It is no small measure that I recall 32 years ago that I was given the honor also of delivering the first annual all-class reunion banquet address in the Carver High School auditorium 32 years ago. And I had to call home to confirm that date. And you know, when your children really have gone past the point of being worried about what you think, my daughter said to me, well, oh man, you really are old. And I said, baby, just keep living, and you'll get here too. I am particularly honored by that linkage that I stand before you now 32 years later to speak again. Hopefully not to repeat that which I said 32 years ago, because I can't find the speech and I can't remember what I said. But between that time and now and that banquet, what a world of change has taken place in our lives in these United States, and the world has taken place in so many different forms, changes that really are shocking and too really involved for us to put our arms around it. 32 years ago, I didn't have a cell phone. There was no cell phone. I could pretend that I didn't want to be bothered because nobody couldn't check me out on Twitter and Facebook. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook. Those are just some examples of the lightning change which has taken place over these last 32 years. And in addition, all of us were ladies who close your ears a little thinner then. We moved a little faster then, and we stayed up a little longer then, and we didn't fall asleep in the middle of the movies on the couch in the den then. But we thank God Almighty for His grace and His mercy that we are still here in the land of the living, clothed mostly in our right mind, and know that we are still in the land of the living. I'm also humbled by this invitation to address you tonight because this reunion occasion has been indicated is the celebration of the 50-year reunion of the great Carver High School class of 1966. Amazingly, 50 years ago, we walked across the stage in the Carver Gymnasium and received our diplomas as the keys to achieving whatever God had in life store for us. And now I would ask all of my fellow Carver High School classmates in this our 5th reunion to stand once again and receive a deserved round of applause. All the members of the class of 1966, please. The best class that ever graduated from Carver. On an even more personal note, I am very mindful tonight that this is also the 50th anniversary of the graduation of our mother from high school. Because in the same year that I graduated, Mom received her GED and finished high school. I hasten to add that I am absolutely proud and grateful to Carver for providing me with the first-class educational preparation, which I could use to attend any of the best colleges and universities in the world, and stand toe-to-toe and class to class when any other high school graduate, no matter from whatever high school they graduated from anywhere in the world, bar none. We were prepared as well to do that. When we left Carver, we were more than well prepared to face the challenges of obtaining a college education, for we had been prepared by the most dedicated and the most committed faculty of teachers that could ever be assembled in any high school. They had our welfare and our future well-being as a central basis and reason for their coming to Carver each and every day to impart to us their knowledge and their wisdom. And for that, all of us, and I know I am, eternally grateful and forever indebted to each and every one of them. Now, having justifiably and rightly paid homage to and given thanks to those who in large measure made our presence here tonight for this celebration possible, I want to now turn to my assignment this evening. And I must confess to you that after receiving the invitation to address you tonight from Ms. Cherry Ann Callahan, I began thinking about how I would address the theme of this reunion, later outlined my thoughts, and much later began drafting them almost to completion. But as tragic and totally unacceptable recent events happened first in Baton Rouge, and then in Minnesota, and then in Dallas, I was forced to the fact that I could not come here tonight and talk about celebrating without in some way addressing those events, while at the same time not letting the fact of those events completely overshare the real truth that we still do have so much to celebrate with pride. Thus, I begin differently tonight from what I originally intended, because I admit to you, my brothers and sisters, that what happened in Baton Rouge and Minnesota and Dallas is inextricably linked, intertwined, if you will, and inseparable from that which we can still celebrate. One is not in conflict with the other, but each informs and supports the other, and both are instructive for all of our futures. What then am I trying to say, you might ask? Great question. I'm glad you asked. As I view it, my brothers and sisters, America now stands at a crossroad of whither shall we go as a nation. For the nation's legacy of slavery is still a deep wound which, though treated for the last 2 centuries, with various treatments of conscience and laws and programs, is still not completely healed. It is still a sore deep down in the fabric of our society, like threatening pus, if you will, from a sore which must yet be cleaned completely out and disinfected, or it will forever continue to raise its ugly head and continually poison our relationships and our living together as a nation of diversity, with red, white, black, brown, yellow, and mixed colored peoples struggling to overcome the past and living together as one people, as Americans. My brothers and sisters, we are a nation divided against itself now. And we as Black Americans are once again having our very existence threatened by the deep-seated racism of some misguided persons among us who feel and firmly believe that their position of privilege and hegemony over everything is threatened with extinction, and the quote, unquote, minorities are taken over, and therefore they must take their country back. Now, some of them, feeling that way, are led by Exhibit A, racist number 1, Donald Quack the Trump. Have no doubt, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, a very liberal lifelong Democrat. I confess that, and I'm very proud of that fact. Have no doubt, Donald Quack the Trump is a racist. Donald Quack the Trump is a narcissist. He loves himself more than anything else in the world. Donald Quack the Trump is a bigot. Donald Quack the Trump is a xenophobe. He hates foreigners, even though both of his wives, one the previous one and the current one, are both immigrants from foreign countries. Donald Quack the Trump is a homophobe, for he will eliminate people who have and struggle with their own sexual identity. And Donald Quack the Trump must be stopped from becoming the next president of the United States. Make no mistake, and have no doubt, that life for us, with him as president, would be pure, unadulterated hell. The nerve of his kind and him having the audacity and the unmitigated gall to say that they are going to take their country back. Well, you can't take back that which you never had a right to have in the first place. We, as a people, built this country, The only possible race that could dare assert that they are taking their country back are our brothers and sisters, the Native Americans, who are derogatorily called American Indians. All the land claimed as theirs by others today was rightfully claimed and can still be claimed by them as theirs. They, like us, were subjugated, stripped of their culture, relegated to less than human status, and forced to serve the will and the agendas of quote-unquote European immigrants who were, if you will, of a different hue. And even today, and even after a civil war, which was to end the dastardly scourge of slavery and subjugation, and even after the dismantling of the denigration of legal segregation in Jim Crow, and after the painful fighting of the damage of misguided integration masquerading as desegregation, we in 2016 still have a Minnesota and a Baton Rouge. My brothers and sisters, we have a problem. A deep-seated problem which 7 years ago I, like you, prayed had at least been slowed in its tracks. For 7 years ago, we were all swept up in the euphoria of having elected us the first black president of these United States. And though we had not reached the promised land, it at least seemed as if we were on the right road to get there. But the euphoria was short-lived as racism began to once again raise its ugly head with more frequency. And the man who I can say without fear of contradiction is and will be fairly judged by history as the greatest president this nation has ever elected, Barack Hussein Obama, was confronted and disrespected as if he was just another field hand by those who would not believe that a black man was now the president of the United States and the leader of the free world. It was for many of them, not all of them, unthinkable and unacceptable. But if they had truly had any sense, they would have been smart to accept it and simply say, well, you know he's had it right. But no, they could not see his part blackness. But even before Minnesota and Baton Rouge, we had Trayvon Martin and Ferguson and countless other unreported overt acts of criminal execution of black men, and even the audacious calling out of our own president as a liar on the very floor of the United States Congress itself. My brothers and sisters, we still have a problem. And as I stand before you tonight, we as a people are being tested, possibly beyond measure and like never before, to be the key foundation for the solution to that problem, while not willingly or otherwise accepting the fact that some among us still want to make us victims of the problem. We cannot allow races to put us in the false trap and portray us to the world as being anti-police or anti-law and order. My son is a member of the District of Columbia Metropolitan Police Department. I cannot be anti-police. For truly, the real problem we face is not all police, but racist police. The real problem we face is not law, but law and order enforced, practiced, and carried out in a racist manner. We as a people have the answer for both. Eliminate the racist police and stop the racist and discriminatory practice and enforcement of law and order. That is the answer. We as a people are truly loving and forgiving. No other race of people on the face of the earth is better at it than we are, and have been forced to demonstrate it over and over and over again. So we must now refuse, dare I say, we are compelled to not allow or accept any effort to demonize us or characterize us as thugs or threats to the larger society. Quite the contrary is true. For even with our own internal problems of black-on-black crime, we respect authority and honor and respect non-racist police officers. We cannot, must not, and will not allow racists like Donald the Quack Trump and his kind to achieve their racist agenda. I could not be more proud of President Barack Hussein Obama, as he has wrestled and continued to wrestle with the struggles and vestiges of slavery, the evil forces of racism, saving America and the world from financial and economic ruin and collapse, and at the same time, boldly, beautifully serving as a role model father and a role model husband. I can think of no other example more beautiful than what he has provided. It is my good fortune, this little boy from Bunkie, Louisiana, to have had the opportunity to meet him 3 times. The first time I met him was when I was serving on the board of the National Health Association. He came to us as a senator from the state of Illinois, and he laid out for us his health care plan. It was a disaster. I was unimpressed. I said he wants to be president, but he can't really say what he really wants to do for health care. 1 year later, he came back to the same group as President of the United States and delivered a plan that he got adopted to provide health care for all Americans in the United States. That's every time. I also said to him, Mr. President, you got this done. I ask only one thing. Stay cool. Stay cool. And he looked back and said, bro, I know you got my back. At that point, he was not the president, but a brother. My last encounter was I had the good fortune to be invited to escort one of the senior elders of our church to the White House Christmas party. This senior elder had a son who is the makeup artist for Michelle Obama. And Michelle and First Lady Michelle Obama, asked Derek Rutledge to invite his mother to the White House to meet the First Lady's mother. And she came to me and said, Brother Christian, I'm single and I need somebody who I respect to escort me to the White House and not worry about them talking about me. That got me into the Christmas party with the President and the First Lady, and one of the proudest pictures I have in my office, which nobody is allowed to touch, is a signed autograph picture of me, Mrs. Rutledge, and the President and the First Lady. But that is a cherished artifact. As a people, my brothers and sisters, we must come together and save America from itself, just like we as a people helped build the country. we, I am convinced, must show America how to address and eliminate the unjustified fears born in racism, while at the same time having those who would play on those fears recognize and accept that there is a new day in America when we will not continue to accept relegation to second-class citizenship and the killing of our people. Enough. Enough is enough. We must chart a new course and live together as Christian brothers and sisters, respecting each other's God-given rights as children of God, to live together in dignity and in peace. We as a people cannot accept anything less. Now, with that, and more than I could say, from the recesses of my Carver and Second Union Baptist Church shaped heart, permit me now, if you will, to share with you tonight what I've been asked to address. Namely, this year's all-class reunion theme. So if you would now, take the hand of your seatmate, look them in the eye, and repeat after me. Tonight, James is going to speak to us about celebrating our legacy with pride. Don't forget it. Do something. I could not think of a better place to start than to pose and answer the most fundamental question. What is this legacy that we are supposed to be celebrating with pride? Of what is it made? Where did it come from? Who shaped it? Who and what defined it? Is it bricks and mortar? Is it a collection of books and papers? Or of now nowhere to be found band uniforms and musical instruments, or a collection simply of athletic trophies? Respectfully, and without fear of contradiction, I dare say to you the legacy we celebrate tonight is really none of these. Though each may be regarded as playing some part in its creation, its thriving, and its sustaining, and its shaping who and what all of us who graduated from Bunkie and Carver High are today. I submit to you that the legacy we celebrate with pride tonight is our God-ordained and blessed quest and yearning to overcome all obstacles placed in our path and become the very best that God created us to be. That is the legacy. That is the legacy. This is our legacy, meaning that Bunkie Colored and Carver High School were not just a physical plant in which we were to obtain an education, but it was far more. For both Bunkie Colored and Carver were a state of mind, a way of thinking, a quest to achieve, a desire to be better, and a refusal to accept that we were any less than anybody on the face of the globe, no matter who they were or where they might be from. That is the legacy. For us, the legacy was our very way of living and defining for ourselves who we were and what was our value. No one could put a price on it. No one could stand in our way, and no one could put a ceiling on his height or determine the floor of his depth. That, my brothers and sisters, is the legacy we celebrate with pride. And that legacy did just not spring up overnight or happen just by accident. For it, in all its unchallengeable truth, it is grounded in and has its source in a far deeper and larger legacy. A legacy of a brilliant people snatched from their homeland, where princes and queens and kings reigned in organized and greatly thriving civilization, while some other folks were still living in caves and running around trees. We take great pride in the fact that no one on earth has a greater heritage or ancestry than we do. We are the present-day descendants of kings and queens, great warriors and statesmen, with a history of being responsible for life and world-changing events. For it has been well established beyond any reasonable doubt that our very being as human beings is sourced in the motherland, where God chose to begin human life itself. Newsflash: the Garden of Eden is in the motherland. No other members of the human race can rightfully claim this distinction. Our legacy had its source in an unquenchable desire of our ancestors, who were snatched people, who even in slavery persevered, rose above their subjugated circumstances, and helped build a nation in spite of everything deadly thrown in their way. They still rose, and we, their descendants, to survive even to this day. For our Carver and Bunkie colored legacy is grounded in and has been nurtured by those who can be recounted, and we recount by a roll call, which we take great pride in announcing to the world. Namely, if you show me Elvis Presley, I'll show you James Brown. If you show me Hillary Clinton, I'll show you Shirley Chisholm. If you show me F. Lee Bailey, I'll show you Johnny Cochran. If you show me Lawrence Welk, I'll show you Duke Ellington. If you show me Phyllis Diller, I'll show you Oprah Winfrey. If you show me Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren, I'll show you Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall. If you show me Rembrandt, I'll show you Romare Bearden or Aaron Douglas. If you show me Babe Ruth, I'll show you Jackie Robinson. If you show me Elizabeth Browning, I'll show you Maya Angelou. Show me Senator Long, and I will show you Representative Menard. Show me Paul Newman, and I'll show you Denzel Washington. If you show me Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll show you Governor L. Douglas Wilder, the first black governor of Virginia. If you show me General Davis Petraeus, I'll show you General Colin Powell, the first black chief of staff of the United States Armed Forces. If you show me Jack Nicklaus, I'll show you Tiger Woods. If you show me Senator Edward Kennedy, I'll show you Senator Edward Brooke. If you show me Jack Dempsey, I'll show you Muhammad Ali. If you show me Sophocles, I'll show you W.E.B. Du Bois. If you show me the Archbishop of Canterbury, I'll show you Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Reverend Dr. T.D. Jakes. If you show me Dag Hammarskjöld, I'll show you Ralph Bunche, the first black Secretary General of the United Nations. If you show me George Washington, I'll show you Nelson Mandela. If you show me the Archbishop of Canterbury, I'll show you Bishop Desmond Tutu. If you show me John Fitzgerald Kennedy, I'll show you Barack Hussein. Each and every one of these remarkable members of our race has not or did not let anyone define or shape a legacy for them, or put a ceiling on what they wanted or could achieve. The Bunkie colored and Carver legacy is not only the continuing expression of the will and determination of the lives such as these that I've just listed, but it is also sourced in the undeniable contributions of our teachers at Bunkie, Colored, and Carver, who, as I said, were a brilliant collection of dedicated educators who were committed first and foremost to our personal welfare, our achieving the highest goals, and our being well prepared and equipped to face any challenges of life. We are the living testimony of both the determination exhibited by the litany of the remarkable Black Americans I've listed and our dedicated Bunkie, Colored, and Carver faculty. But my brothers and sisters, lest you be tempted to rest on your laurels, defining the legacy is only the beginning. Defining the legacy is only the beginning. For I respectfully submit to you that more is required of us than simply arriving at a definition of what is the legacy. And thus, my addition that I asked you to utter tonight, don't forget it. Do something. And the first thing we must do is pass on and instill into each and every Black boy and girl with whom we have the opportunity to be in contact what the legacy means. I know this requires more from many of you than you are prepared now to give. Because you feel, James, their butts are just too sassy. They're too grown. They don't listen to anybody. They're out of control. Their parents don't care. So why should I? My God, there are babies having babies. No wonder we're going to hell. You name it, and we all know it. But if not us, then who? If not us, then who? If not now, then when? These so-labeled wayward children are still all of our collective responsibility. These still now are our collective responsibility. Doing something with the legacy requires us to pass it on, or we will suffer the consequences of not doing so, as we are already suffering, and it will get worse. Trust me. I promise you. We must pass on this God-ordained and blessed quest and yearning to overcome all the obstacles of life and become the very best that God created us to be, the real legacy, to those who are with us now and for future generations. We must pass it on with passion. We must not just pay lip service to it, or just celebrate the fact that we had it and then just walk away. If we do, the legacy will surely die. If we do, the legacy will surely die. as keepers of the legacy, we must commit ourselves to encouraging and helping this generation and future generations to explore and discover their God-given hidden talents and gifts, and to pursue them to the highest level without fear or crippling doubt. That was our experience at Bunkie Colored and Carver High School. There were no limits on our dreams or our talents. But too many in this present generation are limited in their vision of the possible and are not moved away from the limitation by having someone take the time with them to shape their dreams and their talents beyond what they can see or dream. We have the responsibility to encourage them to let no one put a ceiling on what they can achieve, just as we were encouraged at Bunkie Colored and Carver High. There were no boundaries or walls closing in our minds, our hopes, our talents, our gifts, or our dreams. This we, as keepers of the dream, must nourish, nurture, and encourage, and push to the forefront of these slowly and preciously developing lives. In so doing, the legacy will be expanded and reach even greater, higher heights than ever before. Who knows what will happen? Who knows what greatness might be unleashed and what great contribution will be made to the world with such a vigorous and ambitious legacy-building focus and commitment. We will have only ourselves to blame if we do not further and help unleash further greatness and do not encourage greater possibilities among this generation and future generations. But even more tragically, we will be guilty of betraying the legacy by failing to act, by failing to encourage, by failing to help this generation and future generations to discover and develop their hidden talents and gifts. Certainly none of us here tonight want to shoulder and bear that burden. We cannot. Not only must we, with passion, pass on and instill the legacy in the current and future generations, we must insist that this current generation discover and develop their hidden talents and gifts as part of our further building of the legacy. We must also be actively involved in making the legacy a reality in their lives and letting them know that one person can make a difference. Our legacy is not a static bump on the wall or a stand back attitude and look at how great I am. I made it, I got mine, now it's yours to get. The Bunkie Colored and Carver legacy was truly an outpouring of genuine concern by our teachers for the personal welfare of all of us. They made innumerable sacrifices, endured slights and discrimination, had little or no resources, yet persevered every day to make a difference in our lives. All of us with whom they had the responsibility for teaching. They went the extra mile. We must rekindle that genuine involvement in this generation and in the lives of our own children and invest in their future success. A legacy without concrete works which makes a difference is absolutely useless. I have not given enough attention to the legacy. And many of you here tonight, truth be told, are also guilty of not giving enough attention to the legacy, though there are some among us who have. Your attendance at this banquet every 2 years, without more, does not give you a free pass. or absolve you from the sin and guilt of not giving enough attention to the legacy. We as a reunion group, we as a people, we as the beneficiaries of the legacy that we celebrate tonight must do more for those who are still laboring here in Bunkie, Louisiana. We here in Bunkie, and usually I say we, are not producing enough National Honor Society students. We here in Bunkie are not producing enough national achievement or national merit scholars or valedictorians or salutatorians or real student leaders as part of continuing to build the legacy. And we must now do something about that fact, along with providing or opening the doors for more resources to available to those who are now following us. In that vein, and without consulting with my classmates who do not know what I'm about to say, I want to announce and put a challenge, starting with myself. I want to announce the establishment of a college entrance book award program for the highest average held graduating Black American student graduating from the local high school in the sum of $500 a year to do nothing but buy books in the freshman year. And I'm starting that off with the challenge that I will meet dollar for dollar the first $2,500 of the challenge. Therefore, we would raise $5,000 by my classmates and others matching my first $2,500. That would set us up to give those grant awards for the next 10 years. Simple math. 10 times 500 is 5,000. In addition to that, I want to kick it up to 10,000. Therefore, we'll be doing it for the next 20 years. And my classmates, we have talked about doing things that we have not really discussed this one, so I apologize. But I'm still issuing the challenge. We, the class of 1966, will establish this book award grant starting tonight. Before we leave, we are going to start it tonight. In addition to this, I must hasten, and I know I'm overly now, I'm eating and about going to sleep. We not only must do this as furthering the legacy, but we must be involved in the lives of these children. We must encourage them to do things that they don't now feel they even need to attempt to do. We must inspire in them the fact that they, as one, can make a difference. One person can make a difference. And there are many examples of this. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, Nelson Mandela, Thurgood Marshall, Harriet Tubman, and Ralph Bunche, each made a difference as a single individual. They shaped, changed, or made history. And if you think about it, George W. Bush was elected the President of the United States for the first time. Hear me now. By the vote and commitment of one person. I know you say, what are you talking about? You must be crazy. If you remember the election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, hung on a hanging chad in the state of Florida. The election was challenged and sent to the Supreme Court of the United States. And the decision of the Supreme Court of the United States would determine the outcome of the election. After the presentation of the lawyers on both sides were done, the court was split 4-4. One vote was outstanding. Yes. Yes. What one person made the difference in delivering us George W. Bush. One man, so-called black Clarence Carver. Don't ever tell me that one person cannot make a difference. We shall forever live with that legacy. Hastening on. Now, if you have been awake, and now touch your neighbor and say, wake up, James is about through. All right? Now, as I said, if you've been awake, you should have noticed that I've indicated that we celebrate the legacy with pride by first understanding what that legacy is. Second, by sharing it passionately with this and future generations. Third, by encouraging and helping this and future generations to explore their God-given talents and gifts. Fourth, by committing to and helping to make the legacy a reality in their lives. But when all of that is said and done, and it's all added up, I am thoroughly convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that the most important thing, the most critical thing we can do, along with all these others, in celebrating the legacy with pride, is to ensure that this generation and all future generations know and understand that there is no legacy worth celebrating if it is not rooted and grounded in serving the true and living God. I say it again. The most critical and most important thing we can do in celebrating the legacy with pride is to ensure that this generation and all future generations know and understand that there is no legacy worth celebrating if it is not rooted and grounded in serving the living God. Nothing else even comes close or is more important than our doing that. It is our sacred duty to do so. For it is in our worshiping and serving God that any legacy worth celebrating is even made possible. Without the Almighty God that we serve, no legacy is possible. The Bunkie, and Carver legacy is rooted and grounded in this immutable truth. Everything we did at Bunkie and at Carver had somewhere in its foundation, at its core, as has been alluded to tonight, and its reason for being done in service to and recognition that there was a God. Oh, if only that were the case today in schooling and the building of the legacy today. We must have and impart what I term a moral compass, a moral epicenter through which all of our efforts must pass. And this is the channel through which we must preserve the legacy. My brothers and sisters, I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that but for a loving and merciful God, I would not be what I am today and enjoying the was supposed to be a statistic. I was supposed to be an accident. I was not supposed to rise above the level of my circumstance. But I am a living witness, and all the members of the class of 66 and all of you assembled today has put that to be a lie. For with a merciful God, we are here tonight. We are sharing in the legacy of tonight. Who but a merciful and loving God could have brought us through all that which we have had to endure while building the Bunkie and Carver legacy and beyond? Who but a loving and merciful God could have kept us as a people in a strange land to overcome all the adversity that we've had to overcome and still be sane in our right minds and functioning as children of God? This we have a sacred obligation to share and insist that this and future generations recognize and live by as they pursue building on this great Bunkie and Carver high legacy. Yes, we must always know the definition of the legacy. We must pass on the legacy with passion. We must encourage and help others to explore their God-given talents and gifts. We must actively be involved in their lives and insist that they know that one person can make a difference. And above all, we must insist that they know and understand that there is no legacy worth celebrating, no legacy worth pursuing if it is not rooted and grounded in serving a true and living God. If we do this, then and only then will we know and share the fact that the legacy will and is worthy of surviving. My brothers and sisters, God bless you and continue to bless one and each one. Thank you.